Hi, everybody. Today we are going to be talking a little bit about an extremely important topic, which is your personal boundaries, um, how to recognize bullying, harassment, um, things that are inappropriate, make you uncomfortable, what to do when those things happen, and also how to get yourself out of those situations, as well as internet safety. Which is extremely important, especially now where social media is so popular. You have Facebook, you have TikTok, you have Instagram, you have Snapchat, all those things and more that are opportunities to connect with people, but they're also opportunities to connect with the wrong people. Um, so we're going to talk about all of that today. But first, I just wanted to review a couple of terms that are really important to keep in mind. I'm sure now that you're in middle school, something you might hear talked about a lot is peer pressure. Having friends or peers, other classmates' older siblings, people that are pushing you to do things that you are not comfortable with, things that you might want to try but know you shouldn't, things that are wrong, things that are not healthy, and things that are not legal. Um, so it is important to stick to your guns and to know what is and is not acceptable, both for your family, your parents' rules, and for yourself, and to avoid engaging with those people that put peer pressure on you, and to avoid situations where you might face extended peer pressure. Back to boundaries, that's something that you should really think hard about for yourself and even talk to your parents about. Boundaries, I think everybody thinks of them as being physical, things that you are comfortable with, um, like being comfortable with holding hands but not kissing, or kissing but not anything else, being comfortable with somebody talking to you this far away but not necessarily this close to your face, being comfortable with somebody standing like 2 feet away from you in line but not 6 inches away from you in line, your personal space and what you're okay with. But there's also boundaries that are mental and emotional. Which people are allowed to call you a certain nickname. Maybe you have like one or two friends that can call you a certain nickname, but you don't like it when other people use it. And boundaries where if you get into a fight with somebody, if they say this or this because they're angry, that's fine. But if they curse at you or call you names, then like that's when you're like, okay, I'm done with this friendship. So there's boundaries like that. There's boundaries where, if somebody cancels on you a bunch of times or ditches you a bunch of times, where you say, okay, like I'm not comfortable with being in this situation anymore and being treated like this, and I'm going to remove myself from that situation. Those are all examples of boundaries, and you need to be very clear with yourself and with the people around you what your boundaries are. You should also respect other people's boundaries. They might be different than yours, they might be stricter than yours, but it's very important to give each person personal respect for whatever boundaries they've set for themselves. And you should expect other people to respect your boundaries. If somebody is not willing to respect your boundaries, they're not a person that you want to be around or associate with. If a person doesn't respect you enough to treat you well and treat you kindly and treat you with respect, then they don't deserve your time or your attention. So that kind of divides people into two groups. There's like safe friends and safe adults, the people that are going to be there for you, respect you, treat you well, interact with you in a way that's appropriate. And then there's unsafe adults, unsafe friends, unsafe situations, people that are going to push your boundaries, that make you scared, that make you confused, that make you uncomfortable, all of those things. And in those moments where you might have an encounter with somebody who ends up being an unsafe friend or unsafe adult or an unsafe situation, if anything happens that makes you uncomfortable, you need to know that you have the right to say no, to say stop, to report that person, to remove yourself from that situation. And if anybody does anything or tries to do anything that makes you uncomfortable, you have every right to talk about it, to tell somebody, to tell an adult that you trust, whether it's a parent, a teacher, a coach, so that they can take the proper steps to make sure that that doesn't happen again. If anybody tells you that you should keep something a secret or threatens you with some type of harm or punishment if you talk about what happened, you need to tell an adult anyway. In fact, in that situation, it's even more important that you tell an adult. Usually, when somebody makes a threat like that, they're just trying to get you to not talk about it so they don't get in trouble. But if you tell somebody, if you tell an adult, they can take the proper steps, whether it's involving the police, whether it's talking to the person personally, to make sure that you are never in that situation again. So those are some really strong things that I think that you need to think about and that you need to have conversations with your parents and your friends about. It's very important at a time when you are having a little bit more freedom, having more time to do extracurricular activities, to hang out without parental supervision. You have more access to places to go, other people, different grades, different ages. It is super important that you know who you are. You need to know what you are and are not comfortable with, what you do and don't believe in. And you have the ultimate say in what your boundaries are for your body, for your mind, for your emotions. And you have the right to protect those boundaries and expect the people around you to respect them. So this is a time when you really need to figure out what your lines are that cannot be crossed. So in preparation for the next conversation that we're going to have, just take a few minutes and think about what some examples of those boundaries might be. And maybe start thinking of a time or an occasion where you can sit down and talk with your parents about what boundaries are acceptable, what boundaries you should be looking for.